Hello, it's Kayla G here with Big Sister Sesh. And boy, have I had some trouble filming a podcast lately, hun. I've just been so like anxious about some things that are going on in my personal life, and like to the point where I couldn't sit down and write an episode. And to which my beautiful best friend Julia suggested that I write about anxiety. A fucking duh. So that's what we're going to talk about today is anxiety. Anxiety and how to this is also partially something that someone close to me asked for me to go over when I did a poll on my story of what to talk about, and they asked me to talk about how to take care of yourself when you're in a bad place mentally, because that's something that I have been struggling with really hard this weekend. Basically, I've just had something that is completely out of my control happen, and I'm in limbo for a while. I don't want to get into specifics just yet, but I said what I said. Like a big part of what I base my value on has potential to be taken back. A metric that I define myself by I reached a certain threshold and it has a possibility of falling back, basically. Like something might have fallen through. And I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to manifest it. But because of this thing that I can't control, that my ego, quite honestly, is riding on, I have just been a mess the last couple, like 4 or 5 days. I've just been like, I wake up having dreams about this. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. All day I'm thinking about this. Yeah, it's really affected my anxiety really bad. Obviously, like I can't stop thinking about this thing. I have like a tendency towards OCD kind of thoughts, and like I'm like at the point where I think everything is a bad omen. Like, oh my god, like for example, I accidentally did a load of laundry with my liquid blush in it, and it ruined a load of clothes, and I'm like, that's it, like the bad thing's going to happen. Like all these bad things are happening because I'm a bad person, and that means bad things are going to happen to me, which is so ridiculous because I literally, if things were going good, or if like I didn't have this thing in the back of my mind, I would just be like, oh rats, like ruined a load of clothes. But like I have a tendency to that's like the compulsive thought in me is like, oh, all these like things are happening, and like it's a sign. So that was a tangent. Taking care of yourself, like when you're in this position. With my job, I work 10-hour days. I'm in the office at 7 and I get home at 5. That leaves very little time for myself. So I like my weekends are just simply like they're just so valuable to me. I plan them out like to a T because I want to maximize my time, which is in itself kind of an issue. I digress. I am like constantly like I love my weekends. I love my weekends. I want my weekends and I want to be the most productive I can while also having the most fun that I can. And in the morning, I woke up still thinking about this thing. My The way that I distract myself a lot is with social media. So like first thing in the morning I had these anxious thoughts and I started just scrolling on TikTok to like try to distract myself. That like is not taking care of myself. That primed my day for to be bad, because social starting your day with social media is a bad idea. Period. So if you're in a bad place mentally, one, don't start your day with social media. That's a terrible idea. Put your phone away for the first hour of the day as a rule for every day. But obviously, that fed into my anxiety even more once I stopped scrolling. And like I was like, all right, well, like let's go work out. Like we planned to work out today. Let's go work out. So I did like a half-ass workout and came back and was just like really beating myself up, really angry, really anxious, still thinking about this thing. Like I was like, I'm wasting my fucking weekend. Like, I'm wasting all this time, this valuable time. And like, for me, my time is everything. Like, I value my time more than I value anything else in my life. And like, the fact that I like was self sabotaging really pissed me off. And instead of kind of in the past, I probably just would have been like, well, screw it, like I'm just gonna like today's just gonna be a shit day and I'm just gonna like feed into that. I was like a little tiny voice, the voice in me that's healing, the little voice that's not quite as loud as the bad voices piped in and was like, it's not too late to have a good day. It's not too late. And I was like, okay, like let's set the reset button. First of all, I didn't ruin my whole day. I woke up at 7 a.m. So like by the time I scrolled and did my half-ass workout, it was only like 10 o'clock. So, I was like, okay, we're going to take a nice hot depression shower. For me, depression showers, it sounds counterintuitive, but a depression shower for me is my way of getting out of depression. It's like my like calming tool. And a depression shower entails either listening to music or frequencies or like a podcast and laying on the tub floor with the rain falling down on me. That is my depression shower. That is my peace. Let me live. Let me have this, okay? And I was like, okay, we're going to reset. We're going to have this wonderful shower moment. I'm going to come out. I'm going to make a cup of coffee. It's going to be a great cup of coffee because I slay a cup of coffee. She does French press. She grinds her own coffee beans. She is the moment. And I did just that. And I was like, okay, now let's go journal. Like, let's go get these feelings out. And I went and I sat outside on my little patio and I got my journal out and I was like, like basically just stream of consciousness thoughts. Like, okay, this day doesn't have to go to shit. Like I can still have a good day. Yes, this uncontrolled for me, control is such a big thing. So like being out of control with this particular circumstance is just like, ugh, like that is my thing, that is my Achilles heel, is being out of control. And I was like, how can I turn this around for myself? A lot of it, oh god, and I've just been crying so much and it's gonna come again, god no. Okay, like a lot of it, damn it, a lot of it came down to like, it's like an ego thing for me, this problem that I'm having. It shouldn't, but it will affect like how I perceive my worth and my value. It's like it's really hard for me to not. It's really hard for me to like value myself for things that are not being produced that you can like put a fucking finger on. Like this is a concrete thing that I can put my finger on and be like, I am excelling and I'm doing something and you can see it. And all the other work that I've done is momentous, but it's not as like tangible. It's a lot of self work and like escaping a bad relationship and building a life for myself and like working on my trauma and working on like all these things that are not as concrete and tangible, and like they're huge successes, but like societal metrics it's not as valuable, and it should be more valuable because it's so valuable, but it's not something that in my brain I'm trained to recognize as valuable. So like having this thing potentially be taken away from me and realize that like I thought I was succeeding and now maybe I'm not, I really had to step back and like in my journaling I was just like recognizing that I just wrote down all the things that I had overcome in the last like year that I should still be proud of, because and there are things that you don't get like pat on the back for. Bruh, today has been a day. The things that I've overcome are not things that people like see and are like, hey, I mean, your close friends maybe, but like a lot of people don't see it and they definitely don't really comment on it. This thing that I am potentially going to lose is something that a lot of people saw and a lot of people congratulated me on, and it's like this big thing that I like did and now might not be a thing, and it's like it's killing me inside. It's like I feel like a fucking fraud. I feel like an imposter. It's so out of my control. I just have to wait for this other person to like confirm or deny if I've actually gotten this thing. And I know this is so vague, but like I hope it makes sense still. In my head, it feels like the one thing that I'm getting the attention and validation for, which is all I ever crave, honey, I'm a Leo. Um yeah, I guess I don't need to really explain further. I'm just like I was grappling with the fact that like I'm basing my value on this one thing, and like it's valid, but also like you need to trust in God's plan and like your life for yourself, and you need to trust in the work that you've done. Like I've like when the thing that is going on first arose, like I was like, oh my god, like I'm going to be absolutely fucking ruined and devastated if this thing falls through. And yesterday I was like, and like embarrassed, and I was like, oh my god, the embarrassment. And then yesterday I was like, okay, yeah, it's going to be a little embarrassing and it's going to be a bit of a hit to your ego, but like you still work so like you do all the things. Like you're doing all the things and you've come so fucking far. Like you've done so much for yourself. Be proud of all of those things. That all doesn't go away because this one thing does. And like it sucks that that's the one thing that society measures your like value on, but like you know that you value all these other things. And if someone came to you and was like, if you had to pick between a person who has done the work and hasn't done this one other thing versus someone who hasn't done the work but has this one thing, I would choose the person who's done the work but doesn't have this one thing every single time. And I know that's so fucking vague and I wish I could be more specific, but again, I don't want to talk about it yet. Yeah, that was not where I was planning on taking this. Okay, so back to anxiety. Boom. Let's reel it back in, boys. This is probably going to be a choppy episode. I'm an emotional wreck. I've been crying all day. So yeah, bear with me. So after I decided I can have a good day, I can still make this a good day, I journaled and I had plans to like go see friends and go to this concert that I always go to. It's like a live band that I always see. And I did that and I had fun and like didn't really think about it that much. And then I got back and like the anxiety kicked in again. And another thing that I'll do is either like cook or clean when I have anxiety. I'm like, all right, like let's just scrub these fucking floors. But I was meal prepping and I just like meal prep, meal prep, meal prep. And then I was getting pissed off because I was like, like I don't know, I was just getting pissed off at the world. Like I was like, why am I meal prepping? Like I should be doing something fun. Like da 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 da. Like just getting anxious again. Then today I went to church for the first time in forever. Like I always go when I go home and like it's Christmas and stuff, I'll go to church, but it's not really of my own volition. It's like because my family's going. And like since these things that have happened in my life have started aligning in such a way, I've become like much more like I don't want to like I'll say spiritual and like I pray a lot more and I don't necessarily pray to like white Jesus with long hair Christian, but like I think there's a God, I think there's something in the universe. I don't really know, but like I've become way more religious. And something in my work, like in my line of work, I literally cold call like walking up to businesses. And I cold called on this church and had a really good conversation with this woman. And she was like, come to church, like see what we're all about. And so I was like, you know what, whatever. Like for some reason I was like, I'm gonna go. And went to church and just like the whole time, like oh, here it comes. The whole time. Like as soon as I got there, I felt a lump in my throat. And like like just the whole time I was like like literally crying, like silently crying, like like shedding tears, not sobbing, but like tears were streaming down my face. And then this woman came up to me and was like, "Hey," like I had stopped crying at this point, and like I don't think I really looked like I was crying. And she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, you know, we're having this like we just started this new life group called Heart and Soul, and today's the first meeting." And like I like we like but previously had chatted for a second and we're like, hey, who are you, blah blah blah, like new to church, blah blah. She's like, you should come, like it's just like us talking about like it's just like a place to like just like open up and talk and pray about it. And so went to that and like again just started like that time I started like really crying and I was like holding it in really bad, but all I wanted to do was just like release and let go and like cry. But obviously I didn't want to do that in front of it was like a group of 5 people and I was like, let me not do that. Yeah. So where I'm going with this is when you're anxious, like I think I've harped on this a million times, but like absolutely nothing means more than having a support system and like having a place where you feel safe to like having people you can call on in a community. And like I really haven't been able I really haven't been able to talk about what I'm going through because like people won't understand. Like it doesn't make sense unless you're like in like unless you're in the job that I'm in. It like it just wouldn't make sense. And for me to explain it, like yeah, I could. I really could. But I don't, and I just still don't think people would understand the gravitas of what I'm trying to say because like in my mind it's just so much bigger than it probably is. But I have a wonderful support system, but I just haven't felt like so like I haven't been able to talk about it to the extent that I've needed to these last couple of days. Like cuz like I've never had a job where I literally I like eat, sleep and breathe it, which isn't necessarily the healthiest thing, but I like it to whatever. Not the point. I'm like when I tell you I'm having dreams, like I'm having dreams all night. I'm having dreams all night. I wake up, I think about the dream, I fall asleep, I have another dream, and they're not good dreams. They're not good dreams. They're like me failing. And like it's this shit has been eating at me. And like to just come to that space in that church, like and just feel like I could like really just like I didn't tell anybody anything, but I just felt like, okay, like someone here is listening. Like people are here for me and this is a safe space. Like that meant so much. Like people obviously saw me in that group crying. And like the way that they like quietly rallied behind me in the, like after the like session. We prayed for like 30 minutes and like everybody kind of said like their own little prayer about me and like without being super like please help this bitch who's crying in the corner like they all like in my maybe it's just me and my fucking ego again being Leo, but like I felt like they all like quietly like nodded at me in their prayer, which meant so much. So all that's to say you need a support system and you need people that you can ask for help. And I think I harp on that every single fucking episode, but this is a new job for me. This is a new season of my life. And like, I am realizing that I need more support than what I currently had in place because it's not fair for me to, like, it's not, you can ask people for help, but it's not fair for me to do like what I need right now to a bunch of people. And like, being able to go to church or a spiritual group or like a support group or therapy, like you need to have support in place. And if you don't have that and understand that it changes, like it changes through your life, your anxiety levels and your mental health and the support you need and the jobs you work, like all of these things change so much. It is natural that the support systems we have are going to need to change too. And like maybe what was working for you before worked then but it served you then, but like it's maybe not working now. And that's what I'm realizing is like I need something much greater than what I currently have in place. Not much greater, like I have a great support system and I don't want to like knock any of them, but like I need something where like I just need something more. And I don't know who the fuck I'm talking to right now. Like if it's anxiety, if it's mental health, like anything. I don't think it has to be a certain brand or type of person or like whatever. I just think being self-aware enough to realize like okay, this isn't working. I need something else is a big step in the right direction for when you're going through something. And like I would call it divine timing that I ended up going to, that I like said I would go to this church sermon this week. This was I'm pretty sure I said yes to it before this other thing came up. And like the fact that that happened to me is divine timing. Like that's the world has a way of working out. But that was like a very big step for me today towards my like making this a better day than it would have been if I didn't go, because I probably would have just sat with this thing and brood over it all day. Oh, I don't know what this podcast is about. We're just gonna talk. How about that? So that was pretty much just me talking about me. So if you are in a bad place mentally, as I am, what are some things that you can do to like take care of yourself? One, support system. Like if you I already went on, I'm not going to say this again. Support system. Work on it, make it happen, find new support systems, ask people for help. And if you have a support system that's not working, change it. Do something different. Another thing is to like I for the person who asked me this question about how to take care of yourself when you're in a bad place, I'll speak to what I believe their experience is, or what I believe that could be their experience. I don't know everything about their life that I could like fairly say, but from an outsider's perspective with what I know. So like this person kind of lives in this vicious cycle with themselves, I think. I don't know. I'm an outside perspective. I know them well, but not like that well. I don't see them that regularly that I could make this fair judgment. But like from a very preliminary perspective, something that I think we do as people, as especially as women, pardon, we live like or like people with wombs. I'm gonna be PC, but like people with wombs and female hormones in their body. We live very oh my god, cyclically. And part of that is like pushing ourselves when we feel really good. Like say that it's take the whether you're a woman or someone with like these cyclical energy shifts, like mental illness, how for example bipolar, you can be like manic or depressive. Like when you're in that manic episode, you want to do everything, you want to like da 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 da, or like not even manic, when you're just not depressed, like when you're not in the depression, or if you just have depression, if you have any mental illness that like makes you curl up sometimes and die, um and then other times you're fine and you feel like you want to do everything. I know I do that when I'm in my luteal phase, I think. The second phase, the phase after menstruation, whatever the fuck it is. I think it might actually be follicular. Anyway, whichever one it is, that one is when you're typically like as a woman, you have a ton of energy, like you're ready to take on the world. And for me, I always do way too fucking much. I do way too much. And then when I'm in my post ovulation, like I think that's luteal and that menstrual phase, I'm so fucking pooped. Like pooped to the point where it's not just that phase. It's like I burn myself to an absolute exhaustion. And like this person I know has a mental illness. I'm not sure which type, or I know it's bipolar. I don't know if it's one or two, but like I'm imagining they get depressed. And then when they're not depressed, they want to do all the things. And like I know that they push themselves really hard in work when they're doing that too. And then it's to the point where when that like to the point where it's like yes, you have a mental illness that like causes these things, but it's also being exacerbated. I don't know the word. It's being made worse by the fact that they're doing this kind of life. Like they're I feel bad, I don't do anything. Oh, I feel good, let me do everything. Oh, then I feel bad and I don't do anything. And then like that's like mental illness or not, that's that lifestyle, that like cycle is not going to be conducive to a good mental health and like take being able to take care of yourself. Oh my god, what the fuck was even that? That was such a long-winded statement to get to the point of when you're feeling good, like, yes, do all the things, but do not burn yourself out. Because like I have taught myself that too. Like when I'm in my, I think, follicular phase, the first 14 or the second phase, like 7 to 14 days, and a little bit after ovulation, I feel great. I'm on the top of the world. I'm ready. I'm living slay. I'm living life, peace, love, happiness. I'm having a great time. But then I feel so good. And I'm doing so many things that once my hormones crash, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like absolutely dead inside. And then I can't do like anything the second half of my cycle. And for me, I've had to dial that back and try to make it a little bit more even because it's like making the second half of my cycle even worse. And once you find that balance, it kind of like helps. Is this even helpful? Anyway, I know this person does that burnout cycle with themselves, and that like probably is part of the mental illness, but also part of like the lifestyle. And I think like recognizing that even though we feel like we can do all these things, like take it back a notch. Take it back. Like we can't do everything. We can't like stay up all night and do all the things and work a million days in a row and like blah 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 blah. So finding a balance in your life, all of this is to say, bruh, where even am I? Taking care of yourself when you're in a bad place is one thing, but like being able to prevent yourself or like maybe help it not be so bad is another thing. And like just recognize the cycle, whatever cycle you might be in. It's probably different for everybody. And I'm sure everyone in their life can think of something that they do cyclically that is not beneficial to like their overall mental health. It could be anything. It could be partying, it could be drinking, it could be like pushing yourself during your first, like anything I'm saying, anything. It could be anything. It could be anything. It could be with dieting. You could be really good for 2 weeks, then fall off the wagon the next 2 weeks, and then be really good for 2 weeks, then fall, or working out. You could be really good, then fall, then really good. And then like take the middle ground. If you work out every single day for 2 weeks and then you hate it and then you stop for 2 weeks, that's not beneficial. Start with 2 days. Start with 2 days. 2 days. Don't be so judgmental about it to yourself. 2 days. Find balance and hold space for yourself. Done. Point, check, we did it. So, like, mental health and mental illnesses are 100% like, they can 100% be so debilitating that, like, no amount of fucking good vibes and medication can, necessarily help. Like, sometimes, like, that shit just be the way it is. But I personally believe that, and there is some science to prove that, like, genetics and what genes turn on in your lifetime like either can turn on or off certain things. So like you can be genetically predisposed to have cancer. Everybody in your life, every mother could have had your mother, your grandmother, your step grandmother, or your great grandmother all had breast cancer. And then you get to you and you're like, fuck, like am I going to get breast cancer? Like I'm probably going to because like all of my family members had it. But like you can live your life in such a way that it won't turn on the gene expression that creates cancer in your body. So like if you live the same lifestyles as your mom, your grandmother, and that's not to say 100% of the time. It's 80%. And I'm pretty sure that's a statistic that I heard. But like 80% is lifestyle and like 20% is genetic predisposition. And I believe in some cases that's also the case with like mental health. And so like things like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is, and this is my very preliminary understanding, so like I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong. But like schizophrenia can be turned on early if you live a certain kind of lifestyle. Like or if you just like I'm pretty sure certain drugs can like flip that switch that might have not been flipped until much much later or at all. And the same thing with um like depression. I think like if you go through something super traumatic as a child, I mean, one, I think the traumatic event itself can cause the depression, but I also think it could turn on the depression. And like basically what I'm trying to say is, Jesus Christ, please bear with me. What I'm trying to say is I think you have the power to like, I don't want to say turn off, but like in some cases like I think you can turn it off or like turn it way down. Like I'm not saying you can like literally cure yourself. I'm not saying it's not possible either, but like I think it's very possible to like lessen the severity of certain mental health issues with certain lifestyle factors. And yeah, like that doesn't necessarily include medication. I think that's possible, and I've like personally like read about it and seen it. um and that's some cases, not all cases. But so like when you have a trauma and that trauma causes anxiety or depression or a mental health issue to arise, I think that with the right, like, I think if you deal with that traumatization the right way, like in a real fucking way, like not medication. I don't think medication should be the first answer. I think medication is part of the answer, but I think the first line of defense is like actually dissecting it and not just like adjusting the levels. Like, I think, like, let's dig into what this did to my psyche and like heal that part of me and like hug that small child inside of me and figure that out. And I don't think that medication should be the first step, which is unfortunately the step that it is taken first in most senses. But so, like, dealing with those hard emotions instead of pushing them down, and this could be like years old shit that you don't even know is affecting you, that you need to deal with. This could be like childhood shit. This could be, and things that you might not even think of as trauma. Like, go through your life, think about things. Like, there are a couple books. I mean, the one book to me that like stands out is the book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Adults. And that book like put so many words in my mouth that I literally like I couldn't verbalize what I'd experienced as a child, and it just like it confirmed all these things for me that I didn't even know I needed confirmed. And so trauma doesn't have to be like this one big thing. It could be, trauma can be a bunch of micro things that made this one big thing that inside of you. Like it's so complex, but like just because you weren't like assaulted or like or because someone super close to you died, like those are both traumatic and can and are like those are reasons too. But like you could have experienced a million little things that are just as painful and just as traumatic as those one big things. Wow, I'm explaining so much. So, like dealing with all of those traumas from your childhood and dealing with traumas from relationships and dealing with like whatever it is, that will help you break that cyclical like like self-sabotaging kind of behavior of like I'm in a bad place, or like not even that. That's not what I'm trying to say. Like what I'm trying to say is take the preventative measures so when you get in those bad places, they're one, not as severe, and two, you have coping mechanisms to deal with them, and three, you can recognize where they're coming from. Like if you have the wherewithal to recognize, when I was a kid, this was the behavior that was, this is the thing that was done to me, and this is the behavior I exhibited, and now in life this is how it's translating in adulthood. And if you can recognize that and like if you can have that self-awareness, it makes life so much easier. And it makes, I mean, good and bad, ignorance is bliss, am I right? But however, like for certain instances it can actually help you, like it can help you cope with things. It can help you cope with things to deal with the bad things that happened in the first place. And like dealing with them, a lot of people I think dealing with things is just talking about it maybe in therapy, and like that's part of it, but like what did you really do to Like you can talk about it and rationally talk about it and like understand, but like what have you done to deal with the ramifications of what has been done? Like how have you undone? How have you unlearned? How have you exemplified that unlearning in your real life? How do you show yourself that compassion when those things that trigger you come up? Like it's one thing to understand what happened to you and another thing to unlearn it and like be actively pursuing that all the time. And I think a lot of people are very self-aware and I think they understand what happened to them, but I don't think they've consciously like practiced not doing. And like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? I feel like it does. I digress. So, support system, adjusting your support system all the time and like doing the real work because doing that real work can help cure, not cure, but like it can help alleviate those mental health responses. It can help you respond to them better. All of the things that I have just said that I don't need to do a summary. I feel compelled to do a summary every time I go through a bullet point because I'm like, am I making sense? The world may never know. So now, like, what can you do in those actual moments? It looks different for everyone. Like, what will make someone feel better might not make feel might not make you feel better. What? You know what I said? Like a depression shower pops me right up. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm clean. I've been rained upon. My pains have been washed away. I listened to a comfort podcast or sound or whatever. Um, like I'm good, but to other people that might make them be like, I'm staying in this shower forever and I hate it here. So like it's very person dependent, but like find the things that you like. I mean, that's so fucking duh, but like something that you can do. How about this? So I've talked about this journal prompt before. Sorry, I'm just like hyper fixating on all the crap on my floor. Um, I've talked about this before, and it's called the Thinking, Feeling, Doing journal prompt that Jewel talks about in her Joe Rogan episode. And basically, like when you're having a really great day, write down what you're thinking, feeling, doing, like in those moments. And when you're having a really bad day, write down what you're thinking, feeling, doing in those moments. And it's basically like, how can I bring more of that good into the bad days? And how can I take away those bad? Like, how can I like recognize the patterns of what made my day a bad day? So, like, you might recognize, had a bad day. What did I do when I first woke up this morning? Did I read a book or did I scroll on Instagram? Did I talk to anybody I love today? Did I like have any real like good like have I been touched today? Has anybody hugged me? Because that's a big one too. Recognize what makes you happy because it might not be as obvious. Like it might not be as obvious. So I don't know what it is for you, but like for me, a depression shower gets me out of bed and like gets me like feeling anew. And there might be something else for you. It might be like cooking like one of your favorite meals and like, oh, like okay, I feel better now. I'm nourished. Like let me go do the thing. Or it might be like a nap. Like maybe a nap is just like all that heals. Or it's talking to somebody, or it's like whatever the fuck it is for you. I don't need to explain further. Figure out like what is one thing that you can implement that's doable and like easy enough because when you're in that bad place, of course, like the last thing you want to do is like take care of yourself. So what's something that's like easy enough that you can do to get yourself out of bed or get yourself to switch the mood around? Another thing is like allow yourself, and I say these things all the time too, but like allow yourself to have those feelings. You're allowed to be sad and upset and frustrated and scared and worried and fucking depressed and mad and anxious and like you're allowed to have all like you're like you don't like what you're not supposed to be happy all the time. You wouldn't feel happy if you didn't know the sadness and the anger. It would mean nothing. So like allow yourself to feel those feelings, just don't let it like overcome you and defeat you. Today I went to church and like was super fucking sad afterwards, like in a good way. But I was so drained. And I was like, I really don't feel like filming a podcast right now. Like, and then I was like, you know what? I can make this experience something that I can share. Like, I'm not just gonna sit because what the alternative was sitting in bed and wallowing. And yeah. So like I'm like, okay, this is doable enough. Like I have something I know I can talk about because yesterday I had writer's block. And thanks to my friend Julia and this experience this morning, like I was like, okay, I have something I can talk about. But like do something that's doable. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the day waste. Allow yourself to feel your feelings, which I did. This whole weekend I felt my feelings. And then I'm like, okay, let's move on and do the things that I can do. Words? I don't know if that made sense, but I'm gonna keep rolling. Other things that you can do that like sound so fucking woo woo, but like I don't care. Going into the sun, like the sun heals you. The sun and feet on bare ground, feet in grass, feet on rock, feet in body of water. The earth is so healing. The earth has frequencies that heal you. The sun heals you. I literally can't talk without burping. Um, the earth is so healing to us, and like we like forever have lived symbiotically with the earth until recently because we are now getting too crazy. But like our ancestors literally like touch feet on ground, touch grass, hold grass, lay in sun, like sun good for you. Sun good for you. Get outside. Get outside. Even if the sun isn't shining, it will come through the clouds. Get outside. Get outside. Sit outside for 20 fucking minutes. Put feet on ground. Put face in sun. I don't know the fucking science really. Like I do, but I can't articulate it. I've read it enough. I've watched enough TikToks to know. However, like just trust me on this one, okay? Like if you can't do anything else but walk yourself onto your balcony and sit, you don't have to do anything else. Just sit outside 20 minutes, 20 minutes, if not longer, but like 20 minutes with like unexposed skin. I mean, exposed skin with like arms and legs bare and like get that vitamin D, bruh. Do that. And that's not just like when you're feeling bad. That's like that's a good preventative measure too. When I like feel kind of sad, I like even if I'm not having an episode, if I'm just like not having a good day, I'm like, let me go sit outside, let me go take a walk. Because it really does help. And this can be a preventative measure, but also like in the moment measure. Like don't eat like shit. I know like the comfort foods, at least for me, like I'm a comfort food girly. Like when I'm sad, like ice cream, like chocolate. And even when I'm not sad, ice cream and chocolate. But like when I'm sad, I'm like good meal make me feel better. Ooh, yay. Like a little bit of dopamine. But like I mean good food as in like stuff that's not actually good for me. Like, blah 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 blah. And like there's a way to like give yourself comfort with food without it being like absolute garbage. Like don't eat like shit because shit makes you feel like shit. And like there's ways to eat. Like there's a restaurant here that makes like comfort food. I used to work there. It makes comfort food, but it's made with like no seed oils. It's gluten free. It's like you can get it dairy free. Like but you can still get like a delicious bacon burger, but it's gluten free and seed oil free and all this shit. Like it's made with like such high quality ingredients that it's like okay, I can still have my piece of comfort, but like I'm not gonna like be literally not nourishing myself. So like make sure you nourish yourself in those moments. Make a delicious cup of tea. I don't know if you've ever made like Mexican hot chocolate, I think it's called, but it's basically hot chocolate with like dark chocolate powder and a little bit of cayenne, and I add cinnamon too. I think sorry if that's not PC, but like it's so fucking good and it's so comforting, but it's still nourishing and it's not like fucking Swiss Miss that's probably filled with all kinds of shit. Like find ways to like give yourself that comfort of food, but not like don't like ruin your life with it. You know what I'm saying? Like don't eat a whole cheesecake, but like if you can find like you know what I'm saying? I don't need to get any more over explained all the time. So like other than dealing with the real things, because at the end of the day, like you can ground and sunshine and nourish all you want, but like if you're not dealing with the things, it's never gonna go away. Um and like finding those better coping mechanism is never gonna go away. I feel like I've touched on everything I want to touch on. I'm gonna summarize again because that's how I roll. Um adjust your support system. Like you can accept that you need more or less support at certain times of your life. That's normal. Feel your feelings. Don't distract yourself. Don't hop on TikTok right away. Don't sabotage your day when you're having a bad day. Like do things that comfort you but aren't like bad for you. Does that make sense? Sunshine, ground, nourishment, feel the feelings, rest, like let yourself rest. Don't push through pain all the time because then it's just going to come up in another way. Feel the feelings, like do the work that you need to do. You are in control more than you think you are. You have the power to you have the power, and like I stand by that statement like 80%. I mean, I don't know if that goes for mental health, but I'm sure it does. Like, dude, we are so powerful. We are so fucking powerful. And if you like believe yourself to be ill, you're going to become more ill. And if you believe yourself to be well, you are going to help yourself become well. And obviously, like not 100%, but like a lot of it. I think a lot of it is. And I think period. Therefore it is. Just kidding. But like you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna stop summarizing. That was long, but I think it was actually kind of good. That was a good one. Sorry for crying. Didn't mean to do that. Thought I got it all out, but that's my truth. I am now going to rest because I'm exhausted. Bye. 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 Bye.